You've probably asked yourself the question 100 times. Why did they leave, and why are they back now? You thought it was over, you cried, you healed, you struggled to let go, then out of nowhere, they reappear with a text, a like, a memory, and suddenly you're questioning everything again. But let's get one thing straight. Avoidant individuals often crave love and connection just like anyone else, but their behavior tells a different story. They may seem distant, aloof, or even emotionally unavailable. This isn't because they don't care or don't feel, it's because they fear intimacy at a deep, often unconscious level. When someone gets too close, emotionally or physically, an internal alarm goes off. To protect themselves from perceived emotional danger, they pull away, shut down, or leave entirely. What makes this pattern confusing for the person on the receiving end is that avoidance can be charming, warm, and engaged when things feel light and non-threatening. It's when real vulnerability enters the picture, when true emotional connection starts to form, that the avoidant starts to backpedal. This fear of intimacy is usually rooted in early life experiences. People with avoidant attachment styles may have grown up in environments where emotional needs were not met, or where vulnerability was seen as a weakness. As a result, they learn to rely heavily on themselves and build walls to protect their inner world. When they meet someone who triggers a deeper emotional bond, those old defense mechanisms kick in. Their instinct isn't to lean into the relationship, it's to flee from it. But once they've left and the emotional intensity has faded, another shift happens. Time and space bring a sense of calm to the avoidant. They no longer feel overwhelmed by the closeness that once scared them. In the distance, they begin to romanticize the connection. They remember the good times, the support, the safety of being cared for, without the emotional pressure. This is when they often return. To the person left behind, their reappearance can feel like hope. Maybe they realized your value, maybe they're ready to try again, but the truth is more complicated. The avoidant isn't coming back because they've conquered their fear of intimacy. They're coming back because the connection, now distant, feels manageable again. They believe they can dip back into the relationship without facing the vulnerability that originally made them leave. In other words, they want the benefits of love without the risks. They want connection without closeness. They want affection without emotional accountability. This cycle is incredibly painful for the person who is left behind. You may question your worth, wondering if you are too much or not enough, but this behavior isn't a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of the avoidant's internal struggle. They aren't afraid of you. They're afraid of what closeness awakens in them. Recognizing this is the first step toward protecting your peace and breaking free from an unhealthy pattern. Avoidants don't come back because they've changed. They come back because distance makes them feel safe. When an avoidant partner leaves, it's easy to internalize their departure as a sign that you did something wrong. You start replaying every conversation, every moment of vulnerability, wondering what triggered them to walk away. But the truth is, avoidants are not reacting to you. They are reacting to their own emotional discomfort. Their withdrawal is less about your actions and more about how emotionally overwhelmed they feel when intimacy starts to deepen. The closer you get to them, the more exposed they feel. And when they feel exposed, their instinct is to run. Not because you're too much, but because closeness threatens the fragile sense of control they try so hard to maintain. Avoidants often carry unresolved emotional wounds from childhood. Perhaps they grew up in a home where emotions were suppressed, criticized, or ignored. They learned to shut down as a form of self-protection. So when you show them love, when you open up and invite them into real emotional intimacy, it challenges the very strategies they've used to survive. They don't know how to receive or return that level of connection, so they retreat. And this retreat isn't a conscious plan to hurt you. It's a defense mechanism deeply embedded in their emotional makeup. One of the most misunderstood parts of avoidant behavior is how unpredictable it can seem. One day, they're affectionate and engaged. The next, they're cold and distant. This inconsistency can drive you to question your actions constantly, but their push-pull behavior isn't based on logic. it's based on internal emotional triggers. When they feel safe and unpressured, they may open up. But the moment they sense vulnerability or dependency, whether it's theirs or yours, they shut down. It's not your fault. It's their fear of being consumed by emotional demands they don't know how to meet. This is why avoidants often return. When the emotional pressure is gone, when you've started to move on or stop reaching out, they feel a false sense of safety again. The intensity has dropped, and in that silence, they begin to crave the connection they ran from. But without addressing their core fears, their return is often temporary. They miss the comfort of you, not the closeness that scared them. And when that emotional intimacy starts to rebuild again, they may pull away once more. It's crucial to understand this dynamic if you want to protect your emotional well-being. You didn't trigger their fear. You simply touched a place in them they haven't learned how to heal. You showed them something real, and that reality became too much. Instead of trying to fix yourself to make them stay, recognize that their departure says more about their unresolved emotional wounds than it does about your worth. Healing doesn't come from chasing people who fear intimacy. It comes from standing firm in your truth and refusing to shrink for someone else's comfort. When avoidants come back after leaving, it can feel like a hopeful turning point. Like maybe they finally realized what they lost. Maybe they've changed, grown, or are ready to love you the way you always deserved. But in most cases, their return isn't about personal growth or a newfound desire to commit. It's about comfort. It's about familiarity. It's about reaching back to something that once felt emotionally safe when they're feeling lost or lonely, not because they're ready to be different. Avoidants are often highly conflicted individuals. They want love, but they fear dependency. They crave connection, but they panic when things become emotionally intense. So when they first entered your life, it may have felt magical. They were attentive, curious, even passionate. But once the emotional stakes got higher, when you started needing more vulnerability, consistency, or deeper connection, they began to feel overwhelmed, and their instinctive reaction to that pressure was to retreat, shut down, or leave. But time changes things. As the emotional weight of the relationship fades with distance, they begin to miss the feeling of being cared for, seen, or emotionally held. They remember how calm you made them feel. They remember your support, your affection, the safety they experienced when things weren't too deep. That's the comfort they want to return to, not necessarily the relationship in its entirety, and certainly not the emotional accountability it requires. They come back not because they've done the deep, difficult inner work of understanding their attachment patterns, but because they want the emotional reward without the emotional risk. They might reach out, saying they miss you, that they've been thinking of you, or that they want to see you again. But their return is often more about soothing their current emotional discomfort than offering real change. And if they haven't confronted their fears or sought healing, the pattern will repeat. They will reconnect, things will get emotionally charged again, and then, just like before, they will distance themselves. This is why it's so important to be cautious when an avoidant partner comes back. You need to look at why they're returning and what's changed, if anything. Are they acknowledging how they hurt you? Are they expressing a real understanding of their behavior and its impact? Have they taken steps to grow emotionally? Or are they just slipping back into your life because they miss how you made them feel? Don't let the temporary warmth of their return override your long-term emotional needs. A person who's not willing to face their emotional barriers will not be able to build a stable, fulfilling relationship. You deserve more than just being someone's comfort zone when life gets lonely. You deserve someone who chooses you not just when it's easy, but when it's hard, someone who stays when closeness gets real, someone who shows up consistently, not just when they feel like it. Their return might feel like a second chance, but it's also your opportunity to reclaim your self-worth and decide if comfort is worth the cost of emotional inconsistency. The cycle of an avoidant leaving and then returning can be one of the most emotionally confusing experiences you'll ever go through. It pulls at your heart, makes you question your worth, and tempts you to hope that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. But the truth is, avoidants don't come back because they've healed or suddenly learned how to love. They come back because the distance made them feel safe again. Their return is often not a sign of growth, but a reaction to loneliness, nostalgia, or discomfort. What you must understand is this: their behavior isn't about you. It's about their unresolved emotional wounds and fear of intimacy. You didn't push them away. You didn't ask for too much. You simply asked for connection, for depth, for real love, and they weren't ready to handle it. When they left, it wasn't a reflection of your value, and when they come back, it's not a promise of change. You deserve more than someone who runs when things get real and returns when they feel empty. You deserve love that is stable, mutual, and emotionally available, love that shows up, not just when it's convenient, but every single day. The moment they come back, it's not your job to prove your worth or earn their affection. It's your moment to decide if they've truly grown, or if you have. Let their return be your reminder of how far you've come. Not a reason to go back to what broke you, but a reason to move forward with more strength, clarity, and self-respect. You are not someone's backup plan. You are not an emotional escape. You are worthy of a love that stays, grows, and never makes you question your own value. Choose yourself every time.